Welcome back to another video, everybody. Today's video is gonna be a little chill, a little laid back. We're gonna be drawing some character designs, and I'm gonna be teaching you my philosophy behind it and how I go by drawing my characters. So we'll begin. I'm finally here. This is getting too late. I need to. Sir, open up, sir. Sir, open up. This is the TVA. Sir, open up. A midline so that we can draw the face in a more symmetrical manner later on. Oh no, the TV is here. I was trying to make different sort of content and they found me. I'm doomed. I need to make an action figure quick. What can I find? Bottle. That's all I need. Come here. A circular character. An M&M maybe. No, that won't work. Miss Minutes. That's it. So with that elaborate skit of introduction aside, in today's video, I'm gonna be making a Miss Minutes action figure from the series Loki, as well as a Sylvie Lofi daughter action figure. So let's begin. I began by cutting down the bottle cap and decreasing its profile from the sides, because it's going to be not going to be that thick of an action figure. Then I twisted up some wires in order to form a basic structure for the arms as well as the legs. Then I marked onto the bottle cap the parts where I was going to cut out the profile completely in order to accommodate the wires for both the arms as well as the legs, which I continued to cut out using a wire cutter. I took the previously cut wires and folded them into V shapes and then assembled them, kind of placed them onto the bottle cap, which I later stuck on with some super glue. Now, in order to completely hold the super glue into place while dried and totally cement that connection, I used some Fevicryl molded, which I'm going to use further in this video too, so keep a lookout for that. I used some Fevicryl molded in order to completely flatten out the back of the action figure, filling in that empty space of the bottle cap while the glue was still drying, so that the connection between the plastic as well as the glue was completely solid. Putting that aside to dry, I sculpted tiny little shoes for the action figure using some molded, which I was going to later on stick onto the ends of the legs. Now, when it came to sculpting the hands, I could have just sculpted fists, but I thought sculpting open hands was relatively easier than sculpting posed hands, so I just went with clawed hands, and because the figure itself was going to be so tiny, the hands were also going to be quite small. So yeah, it was a little bit of a pain to get these into the right pose and make them work, but in the end they turned out really good for some reason, and I reinforced the backs of these with molded, by the way. The shoes and the hands finally dried. I drilled into them using my mini hand drill and finally got them ready to be stuck on to the ends of the arms as well as the legs. Little footnote here, I didn't actually stick on the shoes as well as the hands in this step. I was just checking to see if the holes I had made in both of those could fit the wires and the diameter. With that done, I took some doctor's tape and covered up the arms as well as the legs to give them the seamless look which the wires could not. And then was the point where I stuck on the shoes as well as the hands using some super glue. A little self plug, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and like this video. It really helps me out, and share it with people who might like this sort of content. And I have Amazon affiliate links for all the materials that I use in the description. Feel free to use those. Those help me financially, give me a little bit of a kickback. So yeah, they support what I do on this channel, because YouTube doesn't right now. I don't have monetization on. And as a final detail, I cut out a circle of mount board and stuck it onto the face of the action figure to give it a flat surface, because the rest of the details were gonna be painted on. And here it is, the Miss Minutes action figure completely sculpted and crafted. Now we're gonna paint this, and I'm not gonna show the painting part because that's the most boring part of my videos. So we're just gonna speed through that real quick. So as for the Sylvie action figure, I began by making a simple wire skeleton and then I sculpted on an ab crunch based design onto it, similar to that of my PewDiePie action figure. As usual, for the head I made a basic little molded ball onto which I will sculpt on the facial features as well as the hair later on. So most of the video of me sculpting the torso was lost, so here is just me deepening all the indents I had made into the torso. Let's talk about the legs. First of all, I began by sculpting the thighs, in which I didn't really do some complex sculpting because it's just pants. They're not really that complex. The most complex thing is just the folds, which were quite simple to do. I just pushed and pressed, molded in certain parts with a wooden tool to recreate and simulate the folds of cloth. When it came to sculpting the lower legs, my approach was a little bit different. I began by sculpting on some very thin parts which would kind of work like a skeleton for the rest of the cloth, which I sculpt on later. Sculpting the feet on action figures is usually a challenge for me, and it was this time too because I had to sculpt shoes like laces and everything. So here's a time lapse of the basic gist of the process that I did. I sculpted on a basic shape of a foot and then I just put parts around it based on the reference that I was using. The feet aren't articulated because I wanted the shoes to be solid. I wanted the feet to be solid and not going to break apart. So I neglected articulation in that part of the figure for this time. When it came to the arms, those are the simplest things I sculpted for this entire figure because they were really basic. The only detail which I could remember was the ring around the upper bicep, and that was also relatively easy to sculpt on. Now the hands were quite interesting because I wanted the right hand to be able to hold the sword. So for that I sculpted on a basic lump of molded and then I carved out all the fingers out of that. But for the left hand, I wanted it to be a dynamic one. So I had to first of all sculpt like a bread slice shape and then I sculpted all of the fingers onto that and then bent and twisted them into a pointing gesture. Now sculpting faces is not my forte, it never was, but I'm trying to get better at it. Especially for this figure, most of the sculpting of the face was done off camera because I'm horrible at it and I had to keep it very close to my face to figure out what I had to sculpt on. And I took a photo of Sofia Di Martino from the web and used that as a reference. It doesn't resemble her that much, but it's a decent starting point from what I've observed. And using this as a base standard, I will try and improve upon every next face that I sculpt, whenever that is. Now here is the entire action figure, completely sculpted and dried. You may see that there is a sword on her waist. Yes, I made that off camera. Nobody wants to see me sculpt a sword. And secondly, you may also see that there are no horns or the horn thing that she wears on her head. That is because I forgot to make it. I make it later on in the video after the painting is done and I did not film that part because it's just insignificant. I used a little bit of molded to make that if anybody wanted to know. And fun fact, the reason this video is coming out this late is because I actually spent way too much time painting her face. Like getting human features right on a face with shading is very hard and I did not manage to do that. The painting is not the best. But yeah, that's mainly the reason this video is coming out later than planned. And here are Sylvie Lofi daughter as well as Miss Minutes in all of their glory. Enjoy.